Rebel Wilson is great, but I think that her humor died in 2012. Hey guys, welcome back to Candid Cinema. I'm Amanda, otherwise known as AMX ND Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Today, I will be reviewing 3 films just because I wanted to do a little weekend wrap up. There were 3 movies that came out on Friday, which I had previously watched, 2 at Sundance in 2020, and then the other one came out on Netflix. So I'm going to end off with the Netflix one. But the first film that I want to talk about is On the Count of Three, which is out on VOD right now. My good friend Ricky Valero absolutely loves this movie, and I do too, except for a couple of things. But this was Jared Carmichael's directorial debut. They had him at Sundance, and then Christopher Abbott, who is always fantastic and spot on in every film that he's done. So the film is about these 2 best friends, Val and Kevin, who have to spend their last 24 hours together before they end up taking their lives. It is a very difficult subject matter, but I think that they have really handled the conversation about mental health and depression and suicide extremely well in this film, while having some form of dark humor. You have to be really open to that stuff. But not only is it humorous, there is a very powerful conversation about mental health and, going to rehab, and having these conversations on screen is always beneficial to those who are able to find some form of connectivity to what these people are saying, to what these characters are saying. So for this to be Jared Carmichael's directorial debut, to offer these really strong story beats, these emotional story beats in regards to these 2 best friends who have had difficulties in their own lives, and they know so much about each other, and they know the reason why they want to do what they want to do. So they have these conversations. Obviously, they have different reasonings. Kevin had gone to a rehab center to deal with his addiction, and his past is what comes back to him. It's all about past trauma, about not being good enough. His childhood was a bit rough, so he has that to kind of explore in this film, and I think that's really important. Whereas with Val, he has some relationship issues, some trust issues he gets to explore with Kevin. So they have a great friendship. This is a definition of like a ride or die friendship. And then there's a shift that happens in the 3rd act that I didn't really like it. I'm not going to spoil it, but the writing was good up until that point. And then, like some indie films, they don't really know how to end the movie on a high note or end it in a way that's going to make an impact. It just didn't end well. I liked it up until that point. There are obstacles that they have to face. This is their last day together, and they make some choices. Were they good ones? Who knows? But I just really liked this. I liked the humor. I liked that there was a conversation to be had. So Christopher Abbott and Jared Carmichael are really good. They give very good, strong, committed performances. I really love Christopher Abbott. I think he's extremely talented, so keep an eye out for him. I gave On the Count of Three 4 stars out of 5 on my Letterboxd. My full review from Sundance is down below as well. Next, also from Sundance 2020, it was a midnight film, and it was called Pleasure, directed by Nina Thyberg. I love this. I'm all about films that explore female sexuality, and that it's from the standpoint of a woman, the perspective of a woman. And Nina did a phenomenal job with this. Just the camera placement in certain instances. This is also out on VOD. It's from Neon. God bless Neon Rated, because they're so great. But this film is about the porn industry and a young woman trying to navigate the porn industry, and how there are, power structures in there, and how a woman has to come up and become a star in what she takes control of in her own line of work. So I think that there's so much like sex positivity in this. There's sex work positivity as well. People need to respect that. It's a different line of work. They're still building their own empire, and I think that's really admirable in this case. But again, it just puts a very positive spin on what females can do, what women can do in this industry, especially navigating it through a very male-dominated space. And I just love the camera work. It comes down to the perspective of the woman, and they really nailed it. The standout in this movie, the one woman that had to really just put it on her shoulders, is Sophia Kappel. I thought she was phenomenal in this. She was so great. There were so many layers to her performance, and it's difficult to watch at times. It's if you have a weak stomach for that stuff, you don't really dive into those conversations about sex work and sexual conversations at all, then this won't be a movie for you if you're just turned off by all of that. But it's such an interesting lens, to look at the female perspective of the porn industry and the way that they did it. And it was so realistic and authentic, beyond realistic. And I respected that. I think that's really important. So you have Sophia Kappel as the center of this film, and we just go through it with her. She goes on her own path. She knows what she needs to do to become a star. And I think it's the ambition and the drive and the, I don't care attitude that Kappel brings to this role, even though there are moments where in this film was very hard to watch. I cried in certain instances, and you could see the difference in men and their attitude towards women. And I think that's also really important in this industry in particular. So in the entertainment industry, period, if you really look at it. So there's so many layers to this film. It is a fantastic performance by Sophia Kappel and Nia Thyberg. My God, what she did with this. I really enjoyed it. I also gave Pleasure 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. My review is also down below from Sundance. I really loved it. I think it's an important film. Much like On the Count of Three, it starts a conversation. It's a very important conversation about female sexuality in pleasure and sex work and the porn industry. I really, really liked Pleasure, and I want to give it another go. So please check that out. So the next film I'm going to talk about is Senior Year on Netflix. It was directed by Alex Hardcastle, starring Rebel Wilson. And the thing about this movie is that it feels like a Netflix comedy. Not a good thing. It really isn't a good thing. You can tell the difference in quality of writing, and Netflix has become very formulaic with their comedy, and depends on the star that they put in the movie. That, Red Notice suffered the exact same fate, to be honest, because you're just working with their humor instead of working with the characters presented and whatnot, what the actors are known for, capable of. So it just didn't make sense to me. Rebel Wilson is great, but I think that her humor died in 2012 because there's only so much of the same humor that you can take. And I liked Rebel Wilson as Fat Amy in Pitch Perfect, and it was great for the time. But then when you take her and put her in another film playing roughly the same, character and offering the same pieces of dialogue and humor, got old real fast. It got old within the first 10 minutes. And I know that amnesia or coma storylines don't really work the best, but when you're plucking a 17-year-old or 18-year-old in their senior year out of their body and into a 40-year-old person because they suffered a really bad concussion during a cheerleading accident, it just doesn't flow well. If you want to watch something where it's kind of fantastical in a way, I really loved what they did with 17 Again. And that's what this movie reminded me of, but I couldn't stop thinking of how awesome 17 Again was, because it wasn't only about being funny and plucking someone from the 90s, which isn't really that bad. There was still technology in the 90s, and then putting them here and acting like a fish out of water with a cell phone and understanding that, cliques in high school have become you're comparing everyone and their mother to anyone on social media, which is 10 times worse. The popularity factor that used to be in the 90s in high school with cliques and cheerleaders and jocks and all of that has just been projected into social media. And I think that that's the main takeaway from Senior Year. That's what I liked the most about it, was the social commentary on how social platforms have really just sucked the life out of us, and we're always in competition with others. Instead of just like boosting other people, you're trying to compare yourself to others. And I think that that's something that senior year does well. Everything else, nothing. You're just showing a different side of high schoolers, that everyone's united, everyone's different. There's always going to be that one popular person, sure. But the social commentary sets it apart a bit, or else I didn't laugh once. Like, this is a comedy. You have Chris Parnell, for God's sakes. Chris Parnell, who's always fun on SNL. Okay? You have Chris Parnell in this. Molly Parker, who's hilarious. Why wasn't it funny? I'm mad. It wasn't funny. I didn't laugh once. I was like, when is this done? When is this done? So senior year is rough. If you want to watch it, because Rebel Wilson, she's back again. She looks fantastic. I love her. But it's just, damn, fan, like, give her better material. These jokes were just like right over. Like, it was not landing whatsoever. Nothing was landing. It's hard to know that you're watching a comedy and the jokes that are written, you see them, that they're there, and then they don't land. It just sucks. And it's cringy. Like, you get secondhand embarrassment. You really do. So I gave senior year a 2 out of 5 on Letterboxd. My review is down below. That's what came out this past weekend on the 13th. I know I'm a bit late on it. It's a bit jumbled and everything that I've been doing. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. You can always follow me over at AMX ND Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. I'll catch you guys next time. Keep watching movies.